Have you ever wanted something so badly that it felt like the world would be empty without it? So badly that your heart ached when you imagined it, and your thoughts circled it like moths around a flame? This is the story of Karen, and the red shoes that promised her everything, but took far more than she could have imagined. In a quiet little village where the dirt roads curled like ribbons and tiny cottages leaned into the wind as if whispering secrets to one another, there lived a girl with soft brown hair and eyes that seemed to drink in every detail of the world. Her name was Karen. She was gentle and polite, the kind of child whose smile could make the grumpiest neighbor soften. But life had not been kind to her. She was poor. So poor that summer meant bare feet on hot, stony roads, and winter meant clumsy wooden shoes that left her toes red and raw. One spring morning, when the frost still clung to the grass and the air smelled faintly of chimney smoke, the shoemaker's wife spotted Karen walking barefoot. Her heart pinched at the sight. She gathered scraps of red cloth from her sewing basket and stitched them together with patient, trembling hands. The result was a small pair of shoes, uneven, a little stiff but warm. They were made not from wealth but from kindness. Karen wore them for the first time on the saddest day of her young life, the day she followed her mother's coffin down the village road. The shoes stood out, bright and bold against the gray sky and somber faces. Some villagers whispered that such a color was wrong for mourning, but they didn't know the truth. They were all she had. As the procession passed the town square, a grand carriage rolled by, its wheels clicking over the cobblestones like a slow heartbeat. Inside sat a finely dressed old woman with silver hair gathered in a soft crown. Her eyes lingered on Karen, and something shifted inside her. After speaking quietly with the pastor, she leaned back and said simply, "Let me take the girl. I will give her a home." From that moment, Karen's life changed. The old woman burned the red shoes, declaring them ugly and improper. But in their place came neat dresses, soft leather shoes, and lessons in reading, sewing, and music. People now called Karen not just sweet, but beautiful. Sometimes she'd catch her reflection in the mirror, and the glass seemed to whisper, "You are lovely." Years later, the queen herself visited the village with her young daughter. The princess wore a gown as white as snowfall, but what made Karen's heart stumble were her feet. The princess wore red shoes, not patched and crooked like her old pair, but gleaming, perfect, and made from soft Morocco leather that caught the sunlight in a way that felt almost magical. From that moment, a seed of longing took root in Karen's heart. When the day came for her confirmation, the old lady promised her new clothes and new shoes. In the grand shoemaker's shop, the air smelled faintly of polish and new leather. There, tucked among rows of polished boots and delicate slippers, Karen saw them. Red shoes, just like the princess's. The shoemaker explained they were meant for a count's daughter, but they had not fit. He placed them on Karen's feet. Perfect. The old lady's eyes had grown weak with age. She didn't notice the color, and so she paid for them. If she had known, the shoes never would have touched Karen's feet. On the day of her confirmation, the church was filled with candlelight that made every surface glow. The air was heavy with the scent of lilies and old wood. As Karen knelt, the clergyman spoke of faith, humility, and the responsibilities of adulthood. But Karen's gaze kept sliding downward. The red shoes shone in the flickering light, stealing her thoughts from every holy word. Afterward, as they left, the old woman's voice was tight. "No more red shoes in church. From now on, black ones, even if they're worn." Karen nodded, but the shoes seemed to hum in the corner of her room, waiting for her. The next Sunday was communion. Karen hesitated at her wardrobe. The black shoes were plain. The red ones, "Oh," they whispered to her, "just this once." That morning was bright, the air warm and sweet. At the church gate stood an old soldier with a long red beard, leaning on a crutch. He bowed, offering to dust their shoes. When he reached for Karen's foot, his eyes twinkled. "Dear me," he said softly. "What pretty dancing shoes. Sit fast when you dance." Karen smiled politely, thinking little of it. But inside the church, during the sacred hymn, her mind drifted. In the deep red of the communion wine, she thought she saw the color of her shoes swirling. She forgot the psalm, forgot the prayer. Her thoughts tangled only around how they looked. As she stepped outside afterward, the soldier was there again. He bent low and murmured, "What pretty dancing shoes." And then it began. At first, her feet made a small, playful skip, then a twirl. She tried to stop, but her legs ignored her. The shoes spun her faster, pulling her away from the path home, around the churchyard, across the fields. Her heart pounded, from fear now, not joy. The coachman had to chase her, grabbing her around the waist as her feet kicked and twisted. Only when the shoes were yanked off did her body fall still. They were locked away, but the longing remained. Sometimes she would lift the cupboard door just to peek. Then the old lady fell gravely ill. Karen should have been at her side, cooling her forehead, reading to her softly. But when an invitation arrived for a grand ball in the town, Karen's eyes slid toward the cupboard. "They're only shoes," she told herself, "and it's only one night." The music at the ball was bright and glittering. Laughter swirled around her like perfume. But the moment she stepped onto the floor, the shoes seized control again. Her legs moved without her will, spinning her through the crowd, out the door, down the streets, and into the dark forest. From the shadows, a figure emerged, the old soldier, his beard glowing like embers. "Dance you shall," he said with a strange grin. She tore at the shoes, pulling until her fingers bled, but they clung to her like a curse. She danced over stones that cut her skin, through streams that soaked her dress, past graves where the moonlight touched worn names. Days blurred, nights brought no rest. Hunger gnawed at her, thirst cracked her lips, but still she danced. One night she stumbled past the church. The doors stood open, and in the archway was an angel. Tall, robed in white, wings brushing the ground. His eyes were steady, and in his hand was a shining sword. "Dance you shall," he said, "until your pride is broken, your heart is changed, and you understand mercy." Karen wept, but the shoes carried her away again. At last, she reached a small cottage on the forest's edge, the executioner's home. She knocked at the window, unable to step inside. "Please," she whispered, "I cannot stop dancing. Take my life if you must, but free me from this." The executioner looked at her with a face carved from stone. "I do not grant freedom easily," he said, "but I will grant you mercy of another kind." She confessed everything, her vanity, her pride, her foolish longing. With a heavy heart, he cut away the shoes. Her feet went with them, and together they danced off into the dark woods. He carved her wooden feet, gave her crutches, and taught her a simple hymn. From then on, Karen moved slowly, carefully. She no longer looked in mirrors. She no longer thought of balls or fine shoes. She asked to work at the parsonage, helping with the children, cooking, cleaning, asking nothing in return but the company of good, kind people. One Sunday, the family invited her to church. She smiled and shook her head. "Not today," she said softly. She stayed in her little room, reading her hymn book. Her voice trembled as she whispered a prayer for forgiveness. The sun broke through her window, flooding the room with golden light. And there, in the glow, stood the angel again. But this time, his sword was gone. In its place, he held a green branch covered in roses. He touched the walls, and they seemed to open into the church. Karen could see the congregation, the choir, the pastor speaking words of grace. She was there among them, not in body, but in spirit. "It was mercy," she whispered. And as the hymn swelled, her heart filled with such light and peace that it could hold no more. She let it go, and her soul rose on the sunbeam, light as a feather. And in heaven, No one ever asked again about the red shoes. If Karen's story touched your heart, give it a like, share it with someone you love, and don't forget to subscribe for more magical tales. And remember to press the bell icon so you never miss a story that matters.